All right. We are back. All right. Let's get back at it. All right, let's see where we left off. So working on SEO-matic for Craft 3. Goal is hopefully a beta this week. That is what I would like to see. Awesome. That's just my Vagrant VM being stupid. All right. So one of the things that I added yesterday, that I wanted to anyway, but Rias mentioned that he wanted it in there, is for the global meta, you can now pull from globals. So these fields that are listed here are actually global fields. So you can pull in stuff from there. It's just kind of nice because some people, especially if you're retrofitting a site, you might already have some global information in there. Ah, Rias, I'm sorry to hear you're sick, man. Yeah, the thing about being sick is not only do you obviously feel like crap, but you're several hundred IQ points lower. Things that are normally easy then end up being really hard. But I did add the pull fields for you from the globals, which is great. And I did end up... I mentioned on stream yesterday that there was some stuff in the controller that bothered me that could be refactored out. Well, I ended up refactoring it out. I couldn't help it. So it's much cleaner now. So this is the parse text sources, parse image sources, and instead of hard coding stuff, we just have an array of fields, and I was consistent enough in the naming of them that I can get away with doing it. You know, makes the code cleaner, and if I decide to add to it, it'll make it easier to add to it. So one of the other things that I did, and I believe this was Rodrigo that suggested it, so I added Scrutinizer to a number of the repos that I have. And it's pretty awesome, but it's also very, like... And basically the algorithm is telling you your code sucks, which is hilarious. So image optimize is satisfactory. 47 issues found. But it does actually look super useful in terms of pointing out stuff that could be improved. Especially things that are just listed plain old as bugs. Some of the unused code things... Alright, so as an example... This is saying the URL is unused, and... Yeah, I mean, I guess I should... I don't know. There's certain times that I put in explicit variable declarations where I'm not using them. But I do plan to go over all of these reports from Scrutinizer to see where we can get better. So let's see. It says there's a bug here. What do we got? Yeah, okay. Strict comparison. That makes sense. I don't know if that's actually accurate. But I'll take a look at that too. But anyway, kind of nice. Appreciate Rodrigo for suggesting it. So I will be going over these. And probably what I'll do is whenever I've got another release for one of the plugins slated, I'll go over some of the issues that it's pointing out. But it's nice. Very impressive. I couldn't help but thinking how long it would be before Scrutinizer has gathered enough data that it can start writing code. Maybe it already can. In any event, we've got the pull sources set up, and what I was working on last night was the tracking script. So it used to be... Oh, and I don't think I removed this. Alright, so it still is, but I need to remove this. So there's a tracking tab here. And what I ended up deciding that I wanted to do was to bust this out into a tab on the side here. And the reason I want to do that is, so this is what it looks like. This is all defined. So everything that's in here is coming from the config file for the scripts. So if we look at a default container setup for that. So, right. So this is the script container, and you can override this if you want to make your own. No big deal, but this is all kind of coming from here. So what's doing actually is it's programmatically making all these tabs. So then when I add in here, when I add the Google Tag Manager or Facebook Pixel or whatever, as soon as I add it to the config, it's just going to show up here. And it has a number of you can have any number of variables, the position where it should be rendered, all that good stuff. And these are all then settable in here, and then you also get the actual script. You can choose where it ends up being rendered. So the half of the equation here that is not working, that I'm going to be working on next, well, after I remove the deprecated stuff, is then saving this data as it's coming in. I hope everything is namespaced properly. Pretty sure it is. So if we look at this, yeah. So this is the name spacing on it. So it comes in as a variable scripts. Google Analytics is the key in the array. And then vars, and then send page view is how it's going to end up coming back. And I'm just going to have to do some minor translation to then update the containers and then save them out. Yeah. But not a big deal. And then I also have to work on, obviously, the descriptions for these. Like, these are okay, but obviously these settings need to be a little more documented. Yeah, and Rias, I hope I'm pronouncing your first name right, is it? Rias? Or Rias? Yeah, you include Tag Manager and do everything from there. Yeah, so there's going to be a Google Tag Manager tab here. And, you know, if you want to enable it that way, you can do it that way. And it will take care of rendering the script, and then everything else can be brought in via the GTM admin UI. And yeah, I mean, just using GTM for this stuff is how, I mean, a lot of, so your average smaller site that doesn't have a marketing team, they're going to just use Google Analytics for the most part. And this just makes it super easy to set it up. But any site that has a marketing team involved, they almost inevitably are using Google Tag Manager. So that's going to be another tab that is in here. And I'll probably add Facebook tracking pixel too. Even though, you know, some people, if they're getting to the point where they're using a Facebook tracking pixel, probably they're doing it via GTM, but it's easy enough to add them in. And the fun part is, like, the API for doing this is very abstract, so it really could be used for any scripts that I wanted to do this way. But, alright, let's remove our old crap that we don't need anymore, first of all. So what we want to get rid of is this. There's just no point in it anymore. Oh, and all of the scripts, they come from a template, just a Twig template that's built in. But after that, you can then modify them if you want. So if you want to edit it later on, you can edit it. If I start getting tons of Slack notifications, I'm just going to turn them off. I don't want to deal with it. Not while I'm streaming stuff and trying to code. All right, so we do not need you. And just remove any traces of the tracking. Yeah. I mean, arguably, it's a little bit dangerous that Rias is saying it's nice for when the client wants to edit these things. And yeah, I guess I have some reservations about the client editing this, you know. But you never know. I mean, hopefully, I'll put in a sufficiently make sure you know what you're doing message here. But they can just use this GUI for flipping things on and off too, right? So it's not a big deal from that point of view. All right, so now, yeah, this is all gone. And these two tabs obviously need to be fleshed out. It's really just, let me show you. Let me bring up a site with the old SEO-matic. So a lot of this stuff has been broken out to more appropriate places. So really it's going to be this stuff, right? Information about the identity and the brand and location, DUNS number, contact points, that's all going to be in there. Local business info. Yeah. So that, and I'm actually going to make, so the same information that's going to be here is going to be here. Right? Because it really is the same thing. It's an entity in schema.org terms. The information in the identity in the creator is really for generating the JSON LD for the pages. So that is still on the to-do list, but that's relatively easy. It's just boring. It's just adding a bunch of fields, you know. Or more aptly, adding this type of fields. All right. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions, if you're working on a plugin, if you got questions about SEO-matic or whatever, feel free. I'm just going to be working away. Feel free to tune in, tune out, ask questions. If you're Rias, you're going to be guzzling down some cold medicine probably. Oh, and yeah, one other thing I wanted to show you, Rias. So here's a user group. So SEO-matic has got pretty fine-grained controls over permissions for stuff. So you can choose to give them access to whatever, but maybe don't let your clients edit the tracking sites, tracking scripts, sorry. Or you can let them edit them, but maybe not this specific one, you know? Is that on the stream? Yeah, it is. It's visible. So this is the code that generates that page. Nothing too exciting. Really just the name spacing was what I was trying to make sure I got right on here. And by default, I'm having all of the scripts off. So they're going to have to consciously come in here and turn it on before it's going to try to render anywhere. And because the scripts come from a template, they can look and decide based on some of these variables whether they want to render or, you know, whatever. So, for instance, this makes sure that there's actually a tracking ID entered in here. Yeah. Are they scoped by site? Yes, they are scoped by site. Oh, the permissions you mean. I don't think Craft gives you a way to do that. If there is a way to do that, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I was actually thinking about that this morning. So basically, these are the permissions that we send back. And these are the dynamic ones for the various tracking scripts. There's nowhere in there that I can see that has it on a per site basis. So that's not something that I really have any control over. Yeah, and in fact, let's look at it. Yeah, so I mean, if I look at the settings from, like the built-in settings for Craft, like for instance, section, homepage, you know, there's nothing in here that's on a per site basis. Craft has permissions for each site. Really? Well, how does that work? I mean, there are where you can say whether you can edit these sites, but for sections in those sites, I'm not seeing any site-specific thing. Or are you saying that what it does is checks this and then looks at the ownership of them? Or how does that work? Rias is saying Craft has permissions for each site. And I know they have this, but I honestly don't know what that means. Is it saying that I can edit this particular site setting, or I can only edit, or I can edit content for that particular site? Yeah, I see it under sites. The only way that I can think that I could do it is if this was another layer was added on top of this. So I would have, you know, site XYZ and then all of this stuff. Yeah, I don't know, Rias. I'm going to have to learn a little bit more about that. before I can figure out if there's a reasonable way I can do it. From what I know of the permissions, the custom permissions API, I think they're flat permissions. So if I wanted to do it, I would have to add another layer here that would be like per site, and then I would nest this stuff inside of it. If you know otherwise, let me know. All right. We are going to grab a coffee, and then we're going to do some actual coding. So if anyone has any questions that you think of while I'm gone for a couple minutes, feel free. I'll be right back. Yeah, I was thinking about it, Rias, and I think I know how to do it. I was just being stupid about it. So what we'll do, and I'm sure this is what Craft does too. So we just check, do they have this permission for this site? And if they do, then we can then check the next specific permission. Right? So they'd have to have permission for this and this. Right? Makes sense? %99 sure that's how I need to do it. Yeah. So then the question is, what's the right way to test against the site permission? All right. So Tim wanted to see what the whole scrutinizer thing was about. So basically for public repos, it's free. You sign up and you can add it. And if you want, you can put this little fancy badge on it. So this 4.90 is out of 10, by the way. But here's what it does. So it analyzes all of your code, tells you how well you're doing in terms of the, and it will also run any tests that you might have. I don't have any currently for any of them. But so for instance, it analyzes the code and it will find stuff for you. Like it will tell you, we found a bug in your, so in our controller here, it's saying if it found a bug. Yeah, so it's saying I should do a strict comparison here, which I think is probably true. I should get in the habit of doing that. And now it's saying that I'm passing down too few arguments to this function. And then, for instance, here, it's saying this could be null. Does only seem to accept an integer, so maybe check for that. So, I mean, you basically get the idea, and it actually, it analyzes and runs your code. How? I don't know, but it does. So here's another example. Actually, that's very, very similar to the last. Let's see here. Can also be of that type. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at that in context. I think this is a case where it actually is okay. And you can tell it, like, no, really, actually that's okay. Finds dead code. You know, you're loading settings, but you're never doing anything with it. You get the idea. Yeah. It would be nice to have that built into the editor or IDE. I agree. I'm actually kind of surprised. PHP Storm tends to pick up a whole lot of stuff. And the other neat thing, Tim, is that you can also have it run all of these checks on any pull requests that you get. So let's say someone helpfully submits a PR, and you're doing a facepalm. You're like, oh god, I don't know the quality of this or whatever. It will actually run all of the analysis on the PR too. And if it fails any of the checks, you can have it just say, hey, sorry, it failed. No, it's not PHP specific. I don't know all of the languages that it covers, but I know it covers PHP, JavaScript, and there were a couple of others that were built into it. Yeah, and Rodrigo mentioned yesterday that I should be using it, and it's always been on my list to look into doing. You just have to be prepared for Scrutinizer to tell you that your code sucks. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, I mean, especially Scrutinizer is free. If you just have public repos, you can just slap it in there, you know? Now, this is all predicated with the fact that I haven't actually done anything with it yet other than integrate it, right? So I haven't gone through and seen how useful the suggestions are, but just from skimming it, it actually seems pretty useful. Pretty useful. Actually, let's see. I guess the technical name is Scrutinizer-CI. I'm just trying to see exactly what languages it supports. I know there's another similar thing called Code Climate. I've not used that either. I don't know. Let's see. Powering human code reviews. All right. So it supports PHP, Python, Ruby on Rails, JavaScript, Java, and Go. So it's got pretty decent language support. And I'm assuming when it says JavaScript, that also covers Node. I would assume. Yeah. Yeah, Rodrigo, I know in theory there's pair programming, but I don't know many people that actually ever did that. I mean, occasionally you would have code review done, but... And I've actually got someone asking me about modules, so I'm going to talk about that real quick. All right, as soon as he gets on here, I'm going to start talking about, oh my God, it's Ben. Now, Ben, you got to help me out, because neither I nor Michael Rogg knew. Is it Ben Crocker or Ben Croker? I think it's Croker, right? I think I was pronouncing it wrong. Yeah, I had someone who was messaging me in Slack about plugins versus modules, and I figured I'd just talk about it real quick. It's easier. So Croker. Okay, Ben Croker. I promise well, I can't promise. I probably will screw up your name again, but if I do, at least I have no excuse this time, right? All right. So I had someone wanting to talk about or wanting to know what the difference between a plugin and a module was, right? So, first of all, this nifty website that somebody made will generate both plugins and modules, right? So if you're looking for a basis of kind of where to get started, that's the place. I mean, you can just do it here, and it will generate the scaffolding for you. So what's the difference between a plugin and a module? Well, I happen to be working on a plugin right here called SEOmatic. So here's our base class, right? Class SEOmatic extends plugin. All right, easy enough. So if we drill down, and this is the actual plugin class that we're extending, Pixel and Tonic's plugin class extends module, right? So every plugin is a module, right? And all the plugin class does is add some additional functionality that that you need. It does some stuff to handle the translations for you, but it handles primarily installing, uninstalling, and a little bit about settings, and that's it. Oh, and also it will handle migrations for you, and I'll talk about migrations in a second regarding modules as well. But the important thing to keep in mind is that every plugin's a module, right? So if you are working on something that is an integral part of the site, I would make it a module. Because, in other words, if it's very specific to the site and the site isn't going to work without it, then make it a module. Because then no one can uninstall it. But as a module, you have access to the exact same things, the exact same APIs. You can add fields, you can add, whatever you want. You can do it in a module, same as you can in a plugin. You just get a few more things for free when you're building a plugin versus a module. And again, the things that you get for free are, you can install it or uninstall it, and there's some concept of settings built into it. But really, that's it. And I've written both. Originally, I had someone approach me a few weeks ago about doing a custom plugin. And from the sound of it, it was really something that probably made more sense as a module because their site just wouldn't work without this thing installed. So I ended up doing that as a module for him. Now, let's say that I had a plugin and I wanted to convert it to a module. Like, how hard would that be? It really would be pretty easy because all of the other custom things that you had added, like maybe services or field types or records or, whatever, all that stuff stays the same. You don't change any part of that. The only thing that would change would be the main class, and even that would have a lot of similarities. Where it would listen to the right events and it would load the appropriate things. So, if you had originally developed something as a plugin and you decided, oh hey, this should actually be a module, refactoring it back to be a module instead of a plugin, like I'm going to say, forgetting about anything that you might need to learn, actual time doing it, I don't know, hour maybe, something like that. Yeah. So if anyone has any questions about modules versus plugins, let me know. In fact, do I have it? Might even have it installed here. I don't even know. This is my testbed site. Yeah. So I think this is the module I wrote. So it's going to look very similar. You've got an init method, and you listen to events, and you can register in here. It's registering an asset bundle, and then it's loading a variable. This is almost exactly the same thing, or actually, this part of it is exactly what you would do in the init method of a plugin. And the only thing that makes modules, I guess, more difficult, slightly more difficult, is that if you need settings for it, for instance, you're going to have to handle that on your own. I think I actually wrote... Yeah, okay. So I just wrote like a little config helper class. That's very simple. It just reads in a config file and kind of returns it as settings because this particular module needed settings. But everything else, like this records, all these records would work in a plugin. The asset bundles, all the same thing. So when I was making the module generator for a plugin factory, I just took the plugin stuff, duplicated it, and removed stuff. And that's really all it was, you know? Yeah. Yeah, Ben is saying that he's glad for the addition of modules because a lot of websites, they just need a little bit of custom functionality and you're not going to reuse it. And yeah, that's the perfect time to use a module. And my kind of spiel on modules is that, you know, one of the big differences between Craft 2 and Craft 3 is that so they were both written on Yi. So Craft 2 was written on Yi 1.1. Craft 3 is written on Yi 2. One of the big differences is that in Craft 3, there's no longer this kind of pixel and tonic layer between you and Yi 2. So you can really use, you know, maybe there's a custom project that you might normally have done in Laravel. If it needs a really nice admin CP backend, I mean, you can just write it using Craft. And when you're writing a Yi module, I mean, you're really essentially writing a Yi app, you know, which is not that much different from, well, very different conceptually, but not that much different in terms of the problems they solve from writing a custom app in Laravel. But yeah. So that's my spiel on modules. Yeah, if I was doing a custom app that really would benefit from having a strong CMSE backend, I would just do it this way as a module. Yeah. And Ben is also saying that Composer is needed to install plugins. Yeah, that's the other thing is like, so for modules, I just make them part of the actual site repo because they are part of the site, you know? And what I haven't done this, but I was actually talking with Michael Rogg about this. So one of the things that Craft does for you kind of for free with plugins is migrations in terms of making sure that migrations have been run and all that stuff. But what I was going to do if I had a module that needed any migrations, I was just going to leverage Craft's content migrations. Because if we consider the module part of the site, any migrations it needs, we can consider those content migrations, and you know they'll just kind of run. Yeah. But I think the idea of using content migrations for modules makes sense. All right. So now what we need to uncover, if anyone who's watching knows the answer to this, let me know. So I think what we want to be doing is on a per site basis, checking to see if they have permission to, because in SEOmatic, you know, I mean, I built it from the start to be multi-site friendly. So, for instance, the globals, like, you know, are all grouped together by and can be different for every site. So I think what we want to do, and we already have permissions set up. So you can control what people can and can't do. But I think what we want to then do is, assuming that they have this permission, then make sure that they also have the permission to edit it for this particular site. But I don't know how to get this permission. And the reason I don't know how to get this permission is I don't know how this is stored. Like, do I ask it by plugin handle? Do I ask it by site ID? I don't know. So I think what we need to do... Let's get out of our module here. Let's do a little spelunking and see what they do. And if anyone knows the answer, obviously, I would take that too. All right. But I think what we can just do is look in the craft code base and see what they do. All right, so this is where it triggers it. So what is the naming of this permission? Global sets, categories, sites. All right. All right. Users edit nested. Wow. No, that's not the one we want. This is the one that we want. Okay, so it's by site ID. So there's our answer. All right. So basically we just need to look for the edit site permission with the site ID. Now, interestingly, I may already be doing part of that. Alright. Not seeing that here. Alright, we gotta turn these off. So maybe it's where I'm actually in the controller is where and this is more code that I wanted to refactor out, and I'm going to be wishing that I had done it. Yeah, this is only looking at whether it's enabled or not, though. I don't see anything here talking about the permissions. Whenever you're trying to figure out how to do something, it always makes sense to see how Craft does it, or Pixel and Tonic. Yeah, so make sure. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's easy enough. We can just throw in this in the controller. So that'll fix that part. Oh, interesting. Why am I not doing that here? Or am I doing that? Nope. Yeah, so it seems to me, instead of saying, give me all the sites, all right, so we're actually going to refactor this crap out. Finally going to do it. Because really, I want to change this once and have it just work. So I know it's horrible, but I'm going to just pass in variables by reference and do it that way. Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah. So all of this stuff should be able to be refactored out. All right. Yeah, let's just do this. Oh my god. PHP Storm is so smart. So I refactored that out. And it's saying, oh, I also found 3 other code fragments in this file that can be replaced with the call to the extracted method. Would you like to review and replace them? Yes. All. Do it. Gotta love PHP Storm. All right. Now I think we can just do... What was it? Get editable site IDs. Yeah. So instead of iterating through all the sites, we can iterate through just the editable ones, and boom. That should just work. Yeah, because it checks the permission for all of them. Thank you, Pixel and Tonic. All right. Ben, you enjoy your monoids and monads and all that fun stuff. All right, so that should do it. If you don't have permission to the site, it should just not show it to you. And then the only other thing that we need to add is the require permission. Yeah. Oh, this is going to give me IDs though. Yeah, it's not going to return. That's fine though. I think we just don't list them. So this will give us all the IDs. What? This will give us all of the site IDs that are editable by this user, and just list them all. Right. No, I got you, Riz. Oh. I wonder in what context that was. Well, it's in a controller context. What's the problem? Oh, okay. Not sure. I think we might actually want to have this. Yeah. 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 That's fine. And I think we can just refactor this crap too. All right. And we're going to just throw the exception down here. Because who cares? All right. If they don't have access to it, they don't have access to it. And then we're just going to have to clean up those functions. We don't throw this anymore. Or do we? Must be further down. Okay. Some stuff we're okay with throwing. All right. All right. So, Rias, I think this is how we can handle what you're talking about. So, if it's multi-site, we'll check to see. Okay. Yeah. So if it's multi-site, we'll just check to see if this site ID is in the enable site array. And if it's not, we'll change it. Let's make it default to the first one or whatever. All right. Hmm. The hell is it? Oh. That'd help. Like, what the hell is that doing? All right. And then so they get it back, we'll have to do that. That should work. And this way it'll catch it like... And actually the controller will catch it and throw an exception anyway, but... Okay, we have to do this earlier on, though. So we have to do this before we do the require permission stuff. Which should be fine. Ah, gross. So I guess we can't actually do it there. We can't throw the exception from here.
Since I came down from Oregon, there's a lesson or two I learned about standing in the
Whoa.
standing watching the fires burn. The northern sky, it stinks with greed. Smelly for miles around. The good old bars in the Bristol Hotel. I certainly knew in that
That's crazy. So someone just pointed this out to me. So This is my blog. There are many like it, but this one is mine. So it's got all the articles. Everything looks nice. Everything's in the right order. Blah, blah, blah. You see the static caching article? There it is again. How is that possible? That's crazy. Huh. That is freaking bizarre. It's the only one that's duplicated. What the heck? What the hell? Alright, there's only one article though. What the hell is going on? That's so weird. All right. Crazy. I don't know. It's got to be something with the Element API is returning stuff it shouldn't. Why? I don't know. I'll look at that another time. Crazy. All right. So it was a little bit of a detour, but we got to refactor some code. And the only thing we're going to have to do is move this out. All right, so we just have to handle if for some reason this is empty, because it could be. Otherwise, we're just going to assume if this thing is empty, then they don't have access to the site ID. And they don't have access to any IDs, quite frankly. Yeah. So if this ends up being empty, if it's not empty, just set it to the first one as some reasonable default. And then if it is empty, I mean, we probably shouldn't even do this test. It's just going to end up throwing. Because inevitably, if it's empty, they don't have access. All right, let's watch it blow up. Yep. Oh, nice. Oh, nullable. Oh, okay. So we do allow null to be passed in. Really wish PHP 7 had nullables. All right. Should be good to go. Let's see. All right, so we should be handling the site permissions properly now too. So that's a nice gain. All right. Got some boring details out of the way. Let's get back to the tracking script stuff. So we need to set up the controller so we can actually save this data that's coming in. Oh, look at that. I do clear the caches. That's nice of me. Alright, so I just want to see what this data looks like coming in. To make sure that I namespaced it right. Well, looks good to me. Yeah, this shouldn't be bad at all. Just update the containers and then I can't do that. Because that assumes loaded containers. Okay. So we're going to have to do it manually. But I do have an accessor to give me that stuff, so. Yeah, not a big deal. I will be right back. Uno momento, por favor. All right, uno momento.
Shine my light to the
All right.
It's alright 'cause I love you. That's not gonna change. Run me round, make me hurt.
Just want to be able to reference this. All right. All right, so we get the meta bundle, and now we need to stuff these values back into it.
Brother storm that come, boy, it sure looks like rain. Yes, and brother storm that come, boy, it sure looks like rain. Yes, brother storm that come, boy, it sure looks like rain. Looks like rain. Looks like rain. Feels like rain. Here it comes. Looks like rain. It feels like rain. Here it comes. Here comes the rain. All my life I've seen rain and I've seen rain.
This is pretty cool. Article by Adi Osmani from Google. I think he works on Chrome and he's a performance evangelist there and all that. So he did an article on loading third-party JavaScript. I love that he's pointing out that it blocks the content display for async A/B testing scripts. Because that is, you know, I wrote a whole article on why a lot of these A/B testing as a service setups just suck. And how to do it performantly via Nginx. But the reason I'm looking at this is he actually linked to my article in here, which is awesome. Yeah. And this is showing the actual website, and then this is all of the junk that is being loaded via GTM. Actually, I think the original was even longer. Might be cut off. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Look at how brutal that is. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. Yeah, I've never met the guy, but Addy seems like a really good dude. I've had people rip off some of the stuff that I've written with no attribution at all. And it's really nice that he's linking to the article, so that's cool. Yeah. Nice. All right. I always get mixed up. Or not mixed up, I just make the error going back and forth between Twig and PHP. It's like, which one am I doing? Alright, so... Yeah, we're just gonna set the container directly because the container service that I have assumes that the containers are loaded in and it works on its own stuff. And we just want to operate on the global one. All right. Actually, we should be able to get the container because that's actually going to be an object. Yeah. Look for all of the meta script containers. And now we've got to iterate through the stuff that's in there. Ugly. Ugly. That's Aya, one of my dogs. All right, so we've got our man, this is this is getting, when you got 3 nested for each loops, you know that just not good. All right, so now that we finally are here, if it matches, then we got to set some stuff. And we're going to be looking at the data coming in. It's going to look like this. So we'll just get all of the key value pairs and slap them in. Man, we're even going to be digging down into that. No, we should just be cramming it in there. The model will validate itself anyway. is one ugly loop, though. Yuck. All right, so iterate through the settings to get the handle and the data, and then iterate through the meta containers. If the container type is a script type, iterate through the data, data handle data. If the data handle matches the script handle, iterate through all the key value pairs in the script data and stuff it in. Well, that should do it. Prayer sent. All right. Let's see how we go. Start simple. Uh-oh. Oh. Yeah. I did exactly what I knew I wasn't supposed to do. All right, so this is going to replace the whole thing, but really what we want is this. Let's see if we can... It's gonna let us do this. Alright, good. Let's uninstall it. Let's just start clean. Well, at least we know it's doing something.
spent time on a junkie. The dark side hires another soul. Did he steal his
Forgot we're dealing with an object.
Was he force-fed? Did he learn it?
Creating a default object from an empty value. Really?
Like him, I'm tired of
Huh.
trying to heal. This tongue got heart with which I'm blessed. His destruction of his twin. Must I choose to lose or win? Maybe when my turn comes, I will have guessed. These are the horns of the dilemma. What truth is proof against all lies? When second fails before the man, the wisest man is deep insane. Even the purest of romantics compromise. What fixation feeds us fever?
Hmm.
As the full moon pales and climbs.
Yeah, it's in the vars array, right?
Ain't truth no rank deceiver?
Right.
Am I the victim or the crime?
I should be able to just use a set of tributes on this then. Let me think.
And so I wrestle with the ancient to see who reap the seeds I sow. Am I the driver or the giver? Will I be damned to be forgiven?
Alright, so this is going to work fine. Anything that's coming in as an array is not going to work.
This fever as the full moon pales and climbs. Am I living truth or rank deceiver? Am I the victim or the crime? Am I
Yeah, so each one of these things is going to be a metascript container. God, can't type. Alright, if it's an array, we have to iterate through it. Otherwise, we can just set it. Alright, this should at least work. Really? Okay. Something isn't what we think it should be. Okay. Right. Okay. So this should save, and this should save. But none of the variables are going to save at this point. Yep, okay, good. All right. We are going to have to do this. Now that should do it. Oh my god, this thing is... This is a horrendous, horrendous function. Alright. What? Trying to assign to a property of a non-object. What is going on here? What craziness are we trying to do here?
Paradise waits on the crest of a wave where rages and flame. She has no pain. Like a child, she's pure. She is not to blame.
Right.
Rain spread by,
Right.
rain from night into the sun.
This is not an object, this is an array.
Don't stop to run. She can fight like a lie. She can't be undone. Tell me the cause. I can pay. Let me go and tell me love is now love. Sell everything. Without love, it can't sell its king.
Ah, God.
Day by day, anyway, like all today. Crippled but free. I was blind all the time. I was learning to see.
Right. We're blowing it away again. My goodness. Let's try that again.
Help on the way. But I know this I got you today.
Rias, if you're still there, let me know, because I have a question for you. See what you think from an architectural point of view on something. Alright, here's our tracking ID, save. Kaboom! Look at that. I must say though, that is one of the uglier nested loops I've written in a while. It's kind of a shame too, because I have accessors for all these containers, but they assume that they're added to the global container. And by that time, it may be coalesced with a whole bunch of other stuff. And would not work out well if I ended up using them. Hindsight 2020, I guess. I mean, I could add accessors to the Meta bundle. It actually doesn't make sense in the context of the Meta container itself. Well, yeah, I guess technically it does. It doesn't make sense in the context of the Meta container service. However, let's take a look at yeah, this is where there should be an accessor. So we have an add data, but that's it. But really there should be